The twin suns of New Dakota burned crimson through the toxic haze, casting long shadows across the cracked landing pads. Sheriff Eli Vance adjusted his respirator with his flesh hand, the servos in his cybernetic arm whining as he pushed open the saloon doors. Dust swirled through the prefab dome's broken climate seals, collecting on the faded human flag nailed above the doorway. Its tattered edges snapped like gunshots in the ceaseless wind. Outside, the ground trembled. Eli didn't need to look up to know what caused it. The organic bulk of the harvest of plenty blotted out the sky, its pulsating hull veins throbbing with sickly green light. Zephyrian colony ships always looked like tumors to him, glistening, invasive things that fed on worlds. Sheriff. Old Man Riley spat into the dust, his voice crackling through his mask's corroded vox. That ain't no supply run. Eli thumbed the safety off his revolver. Never is. The first Vorak scouts descended on anti-grav sleds, their chitinous armor clicking as they fanned out across the town square. Behind them came the bureaucrats. Eli counted 4 eyes on the lead surveyor, each pupil contracting independently as it scanned the rusted domes and boarded up storefronts, Sheriff Vance. The Vorak's translator emitted a voice too smooth for something with mandibles. I am Vexlath, third assessor of the Galactic Frontier Reclamation Initiative. Eli kept his hand near his gun. We don't take kindly to unannounced visitors, Assessor. Vexlath's forelimbs unfolded a holographic decree, its sigils burning blue in the dusty air. By authority of the Outer Rim Settlement Accords, this world has been designated for Zephyrian agricultural development. Your colony failed to meet minimum thriving thresholds. A murmur ran through the gathered settlers. Eli didn't turn, but he felt their eyes on his back. He'd known this day would come. They all had minimum thresholds. Eli's laugh was a dry rasp. We got crops in the hydroponics, kids in the schoolhouse. Last I checked, that is thriving. Vexlath's eyes pulsed in what might have been amusement. Your population has declined 62% since landing. Your infrastructure is non-compliant with what? Eli stepped forward, his boots kicking up puffs of rust-colored dust. Your pretty galactic standards we adapted. That is what humans do. The Vorak's limbs stiffened. Adaptation is irrelevant. This world is now under Zephyrian stewardship. You have 30 cycles to vacate. Eli studied the hologram, the neat lines of legalese that declared New Dakota unoccupied. Behind him, he heard the quiet click of safeties being switched off. The settlers might have been starving, their domes patched with scrap and prayer, but every last one of them was armed. You ever wonder why we call these worlds frontiers, Vexlath? Eli asked softly. The Vorak tilted its head. Semantics are not my concern. Eli's smile didn't reach his eyes. Frontiers are places that test you, that chew you up and spit out the weak. He tapped the human flag above him, its fabric brittle with radiation. We buried 43 souls in the first year, planted them right out past the methane vents. Vexlath's translator emitted a derisive buzz. Sentiment does not alter legal reality. Eli's cybernetic hand clenched. Oh, we're way past legal. He leaned in, close enough to smell the Vorak's antiseptic carapace polish. You tell your bosses this. Humans thrive just fine in graves. We just make damn sure to share them. The silence that followed was thicker than the toxic air. Somewhere in the distance, a child's laughter echoed from the reinforced school dome. Vexlath's eyes darted toward the sound, then back to Eli. 30 cycles, Sheriff. The Vorak folded its limbs, the hologram winking out. After that, you will be removed. Eli watched the sleds ascend toward the waiting hive. Ship behind him, Old Man Riley lit a cigarette with shaking hands. Shoulder shot the bastard, Riley muttered. Eli holstered his revolver. Plenty of time for that. He turned toward the comms shack, where Mayor Hayes would already be waiting. The real work started now. Above them, the harvest of plenty pulsed like a dying heart. The colony hall's flickering holos cast jagged shadows across the cracked polymer walls. Mayor Lisa Hayes stood at the center of the room, her scarred knuckles resting on the warped table. The air stank of ozone and stale sweat. The environmental filters long past their maintenance cycles. Around her, the last 100 settlers of New Dakota sat in silence, their patched enviro-suits streaked with red dust. Opposite them, the Zephyrian delegation glowed. Bioluminescent robes pulsed with soft blues and purples, their organic fibers shifting like living skin. Overseer Drocklix towered at the head of their group, his elongated limbs folded in what passed for patience among his kind. His voice grated through the translator implant in Lisa's ear, each word like glass dragged over stone. Human settlers of New Dakota, Drocklix began, mandibles clicking between syllables. The Galactic Frontier Bureau recognizes your persistence, but the facts remain. Your colony has failed to meet minimum viability thresholds. A murmur rippled through the settlers. Old Man Riley coughed into his sleeve, the sound wet and ragged. Lisa didn't turn. She kept her eyes locked on Drocklix's compound gaze. Failed how? She asked. Drocklix's robes flickered yellow at the edges. Amusement or annoyance? No sustainable agriculture. No stable population growth. Your atmospheric processes operate at Fey efficiency. By galactic standard Fey B, this world is unoccupied. Lisa's fingers twitched. She could feel the weight of the settlers' stares, the quiet tension coiling tighter. We've been here 12 years, she said. Buried 37 of our own. That's occupation. One of the younger Zephyrians, a diplomat with iridescent markings, leaned forward. This is not a debate, Mayor Hayes. The Bureau has designated New Dakota for Zephyrian agricultural development. However, he gestured, and a holo shimmered to life above the table. In recognition of your efforts, we offer generous relocation. The image showed a lush, temperate world, its continents dotted with prefab habitats. A caption scrolled beneath, Class M Fey Habitat Zeta, full life support, guaranteed fertile land. Lisa didn't look at it. Generous, she repeated. Drocklix spread his upper limbs. More than your species deserves. The Vorak Collective suggested simple eradication. That got a reaction. A chair screeched as Engineer Raj Patel stood, his grease-stained hands clenched. Try it, he spat. The Zephyrian guards, hulking Vorak hybrids with carapace armor, shifted their weapon pods humming to life. Lisa raised a hand without turning. Sit down, Raj, for a heartbeat. No one moved. Then Raj exhaled sharply and dropped back into his seat. Drocklix's mandibles twitched. You see the problem, Mayor? Your people are emotional, unstable. This world will break you within a generation. Lisa finally glanced at the holo. The perfect green world spun lazily. No dust storms. No toxic rains, no graves. She looked back at Drocklix. We built here, she said, quiet but clear. We bury here. The Zephyrian's robes darkened to deep violet, a warning color. Then you will be removed by force. Lisa smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. You're welcome to try. Silence. The settlers didn't cheer, didn't move. They just watched, their faces hard and still as the cracked earth outside. Drocklix's translator emitted a sharp click, the equivalent of a sigh. Very well, you have until dawn to reconsider. He turned, his retinue falling into step behind him. The Vorak guards lingered a moment longer, their faceless helmets scanning the room before they followed. The hall doors hissed shut. For 3 full breaths. No one spoke. Then Old Man Riley wheezed out a laugh. Damn aliens never learn. Lisa reached into her pocket, and pulled out a rusted comlink. The settlers leaned in as she thumbed the activation rune. A crackling voice answered immediately. "Sheriff here." "They made the offer," Lisa said. Eli Vance's chuckle was static and steel. And Lisa looked at the faces around her. Raj fury, Riley's grim amusement, the silent determination of the others. She keyed the comm again. "We're staying." The line hissed for a second. Then light the fires." Lisa pocketed the comm. Outside, the twin suns dipped toward the horizon, staining the dust red. Dawn would come soon. The twin suns of New Dakota hung low in the sky, staining the dust plains the color of old blood. Raj Patel wiped grease from his forehead with the back of his hand, leaving a dark streak across his brow. His missing fingers ached in the dry heat as he watched the horizon. The ground trembled before he saw them, Vorak terraformers, their spindly legs unfolding like nightmares as they descended on anti-grav pulses. "Damn," muttered old Tom from the watchtower, his voice crackling over the rusted comm unit. "They ain't even waiting for sunset." Raj keyed the mic. "Kids inside." Locked down, Lisa's got him in the storm cellar with the last of the water. The first terraformer touched down half a click from the town's perimeter, its mandibles gnashing as it tested the air. Raj recognized the model, Vorak Mark VII, capable of chewing through bedrock and spitting out slurry for their fungal crops. Behind it, 3 more landed in perfect formation. Their thorax plates split open and figures emerged. Kazait clicked his way forward, his forearms folded in what passed for Vorak patience. His carapace gleamed under the dying light, polished to intimidate. The human settlers gathered in silence, their patched enviro suits and jury, rigged rifles a pitiful contrast to the Vorak's gleaming exosuits. "You were warned," Kekskit said, his translator box flattening his voice into something cold. "This world is reclassified. You do not meet Federation biomass thresholds for claim retention." Raj spat into the dust. "We don't meet your damn quotas, so that means it is free for the taking." Keskit's antennae twitched. "This is frontier law. Your kind barely scratched the surface. No cities, no orbital infrastructure, just holes." He gestured at the mine shafts dotting the plains. "The Zeperian assessment was correct. You failed to thrive." A murmur ran through the settlers. Raj clenched his fists. He'd spent 3 years down in those holes, breathing toxic fumes to tap the geothermal vents. Lost 2 fingers to a core drill, buried 6 friends when shafts collapsed. "We thrived enough," Raj said. Casgate unfolded a data slate. "You have 24 hours to evacuate. The harvest of plenty will transport you to a more suitable world. Refusal means reclassification." He paused. Mandibles parting in what might have been a smile. "Invasive fauna are subject to culling." Old Tom's rifle clicked as he thumbed off the safety. Catskate didn't flinch. "You don't got the stomach for that kind of work," Tom growled. Catskate turned, his carapace rippling with amusement. "We do not have stomachs." "Human," he signaled his workers. The terraformers shuddered to life, their drills whining as they bit into the earth. The first one hit the old Macready field, where the settlers had painstakingly coaxed wheat from the toxic soil. The machine chewed through it in seconds, spitting out a blackened paste. Raj watched, his throat tight. He'd promised his daughter they'd harvest that wheat next season. The comm unit crackled again. It was Jenna, her voice tight with excitement. They took the bait. Scouts just entered the east shaft. Raj exhaled. He keyed the mic, keeping his voice low. "Light the fires." Ketskit tilted his head. "Your defiance is pointless. By dawn, this valley will be..." A rumble cut him off. The ground shook, not from the terraformers, but from deep below. The Vorak foreman stumbled as a shockwave rolled through the plain. One of the drills stuttered, its bit snapping off with a screech. Then the east mineshaft erupted. A column of fire punched through the earth, swallowing 2 Vorak scouts whole. The terraformers nearest to it recoiled, their sensors overloading as the geothermal tap. The one Raj and his crew had spent months stabilizing, unleashed hell. Kask's translator spat static. "What have you done?" Raj smiled, wiping dust from his face. "We tapped the core. You wanted biomass?" He gestured to the inferno. "There is your damn quota." Alarms wailed from the Vorak machines as the ground split further, veins of molten rock spiderwebbing toward the town. The settlers didn't run. They stood their ground, watching as the terraformers scrambled back, their perfect formation broken. Kex hissed, his mandibles flaring. "This changes nothing. The harvest will..." "Will what?" Raj interrupted. "Bomb us? You need this valley intact. That is why you didn't glass us from orbit." He picked up a rock, tossing it toward the nearest terraformer. It pinged harmlessly off the hull. "But we don't need it intact. We just need it ours." The foreman's antennae quivered for the first time. He looked uncertain. Jenna's voice crackled over the comm again. "Got 3 more shafts rigged. Say the word." Raj kept his eyes on Katskak. "Clock's ticking. Foreman, 24 hours, right?" He nodded toward the burning plains. "Better get digging." The mines exhaled, dust like a sleeping beast breathing. Jenna Wu adjusted her night vision goggles, the green, tinted world sharpening into focus. The tunnels stretched into darkness, their walls scarred by old drill marks and newer claw marks. Behind her, the last of the colony's children were being led deeper into the labyrinth by Raj's team. She could hear their whispers, small and scared, but they moved fast. They'd practiced this. A crackle in her earpiece. "Jenna, they're inside the perimeter." Raj's voice was tight, like a wire about to snap. She didn't answer. Instead, she pressed a hand to the tunnel wall, feeling the vibration. Heavy, metallic, the Zephyrian scouts were moving in formation, their armored feet crunching on loose rock. They thought they were hunting. Jenna smiled. Above her, a rusted sign dangled from one bolt. The words were faded, but she knew them by heart. "Looters will burn." The first scout rounded the corner, its 4 eyes glowing faintly in the dark. It moved cautiously, rifle raised, scanning the tunnel. Jenna stayed perfectly still. The goggles masked her heat signature. The Zephyrian clicked its mandibles, a sound that might have been confusion, and signaled the others forward. There were 6 of them. Jenna exhaled. Her finger found the detonator in her pocket. "Light 'em up," Raj had said. She pressed the button. The tunnel erupted, not with fire, with sound. The seismic charges buried in the walls detonated in sequence. A chain reaction of concussive force that didn't just shake the ground. It unmade it. The Zephyrians didn't have time to scream. The ceiling collapsed in a roar of dust and stone, burying them instantly. Jenna was already moving, sprinting down a side passage as the shockwave chased her. Behind her, the tunnel sealed itself with a final grinding groan. Her earpiece crackled again. Status. She didn't stop running. First wave handled. They'll send more. Good. Get to the rendezvous. We're priming the core taps. Jenna skidded around a corner, her boots kicking up dust. The mines were a maze, but she knew every turn, every dead end, every place where the ground was weak. A shadow moved ahead of her. She froze. Not Zephyrian. Vorak, the foreman Kazgat, stood blocking the tunnel, its mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. Its armor was scuffed, one eye, lens cracked. Behind it, 2 more Vorak emerged from side passages, their claws extended. "Clever," Kezekti hissed, its translator struggling with the word. "But not clever enough." Jenna didn't bother answering. She lunged left, grabbing a rusted pipe from the ground. The first Vorak swung at her, claws slicing air. She ducked, driving the pipe upward into its underarm. The weak point Raj had told her about. The Vorak screeched, stumbling back. The second one lunged. Jenna twisted, but not fast enough. Claws raked her side, hot pain flaring through her ribs. She gritted her teeth, swinging the pipe like a bat. It connected with a satisfying crack, sending the Vorak reeling. Kasky didn't wait. It charged massive and unstoppable. Jenna braced, and the tunnel exploded. Not from her charges, from below. The ground split open, a geyser of superheated steam erupting from the depths. The Vorak screamed as the scalding vapor engulfed them. Their armor no protection against the fury of the planet itself. Jenna barely had time to roll aside, the heat licking at her boots. Raj's voice in her ear frantic. "Jenna, we're losing containment. Get out now." She didn't need telling twice. Jenna ran. The tunnels shaking around her, the air thickening with steam, and the stench of burning chitin. Behind her, the mines groaned, the core taps destabilizing. The colony had known the risks. They'd built here anyway, and they'd rigged the place to burn. She reached the exit as the first shockwave hit, the force throwing her forward into daylight. She landed hard, coughing dust, her side screaming in pain. Behind her, the mine entrance collapsed in a roar of fire and stone. Jenna rolled onto her back, staring at the sky. The harvest of plenty still hung there. Oblivious, she grinned, blood on her teeth. "Welcome to Hell's basement," she whispered. Then the ground shook again, deeper this time. The core taps were going critical. Jenna forced herself up. The rendezvous point was half a click away. She could make it. She had to, because the real show was just starting. The twin suns rose over New Dakota, painting the colony square in shades of blood and rust. Sheriff Eli Vance stepped over the smoldering wreckage of a Vorak skimmer, his boots crunching on shattered chitin. The air reeked of ionized metal and something darker, burning flesh, both alien and human. Around him, the settlers emerged from their bunkers and bolt holes. They moved like ghosts through the carnage, their patched enviro, suits streaked with soot and gore. A child's wail cut through the morning haze, quickly muffled by a mother's hand. Eli's cybernetic arm whirred as he hauled a broken Vorak soldier upright by its carapace. The alien's 4 eyes flickered, mandibles twitching in pain. "Tell your foreman something," Eli growled. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Frontier law's got 2 rules. Don't touch what ain't yours. He slammed the Vorak back into the dirt. And don't wake the neighbors. A shadow fell across them. Overseer Drix staggered into the square, his bioluminescent robes torn and sputtering. His translator spat static. You primitive, save it," Eli said. He thumbed the safety off his revolver. The click echoed like a tomb door shutting. Mayor Lisa Hayes limped into view, her scarred knuckles wrapped around a jury, rigged plasma torch. Behind her, Engineer Raj Patel dragged a smoldering Zephyrian scout by the ankles. "They're still in the mines," Raj said, grinning through cracked lips. Jenna rigged the rest of the charges. Lisa didn't smile. She stared at Drelix, her eyes hard as flint. "You wanted our land." She kicked a chunk of broken terraformer. "Take it." The ground trembled, a distant boom rolled through the colony, followed by a sound like the planet itself screaming. The settlers didn't flinch. They'd known the mines would go. They'd built them to. Up in orbit, the harvest of plenty listed drunkenly, its organic hull rupturing along the starboard side. Escape pods jettisoned in frantic clusters, streaking toward the planet like falling stars. Delict's translator finally stabilized. "You've doomed yourselves. The Federation will glass this rock." Eli holstered his revolver. He pulled a rusted radio from his belt, the kind the settlers used to call for dust storm medevacs. The kind the USN had left behind a decade ago. "Funny thing about frontiers," he said, keying the mic. "They got long memories." Static hissed. Then a voice crackled through, clear as gunfire. "Retribution actual reading you 5. By standing by for fire mission." Lisa took the radio. Her voice didn't shake. "They bit the frontier. Now, it bites back." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was the sound of targeting solutions locking, of railguns charging, of a galaxy learning why humans didn't just survive the dark. They weaponized it. Docked up as the sky split open, the USN Retribution decloaked, like a nightmare made real, its prow carving sunlight into shards, the Zephyrian's bioluminescence dimmed. You were never unarmed. Eli spat into the dust. We're always armed. He turned his back as the first orbital strike hit, just not always polite. The colony square lit up brighter than the twin suns. The settlers didn't cheer. They stood in the wreckage of their home and watched the sky burn. Somewhere in the flames, a child's voice piped up. "Mom, are we the bad guys now?" Lisa didn't look away from the fire. "No, baby," were the warning. The radio crackled again. Admiral Blake's voice was ice and vengeance. "All Zephyrian vessels, this is the United Earth Sovereignty Navy. You are in violation of human space. Power down your engines." A pause, then softer, or don't. The Retribution's railguns sang. Eli picked up a broken Vorak helmet. He turned it over in his hands, studying the alien sigils carved into the chitin. "Shuld read the fine print," he muttered, tossing it into the flames. "Grave robbings are hanging a fence out here." The settlers moved through the square, gathering the dead. They didn't separate human from alien. The frontier didn't care about species. It only cared who bled last. The harvest of plenty hung broken in orbit, its organic hull cracked open like an egg. Inside the crippled ship, Zephyrian Overseer Drotlix clawed at the flickering holoscreen, watching the last of his fleet scatter like insects. His translator spat static as he screamed into the comms. "Galactic Council Emergency Protocol." The humans, a new shadow, eclipsed the dying sun. The USN Retribution slid into view, its angular prow splitting the light like a blade. Railgun batteries cycled with a hum that vibrated through the bones of every ship, still clinging to the system. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Carter Blake leaned forward in his command chair. His fingers danced over the tactical display, painting firing solutions across the Zephyrian retreat vectors. "Sir," his comms officer said, "we're being hailed by the Galactic Council emissary." Blake didn't look up. "Put them through." The holoscreen flickered to life, revealing the panicked face of a Cerelion diplomat, their floating orbs darting between unseen threats. "Admiral Blake, this is an outrage you cannot." "Can't what?" Blake interrupted. His voice was calm, almost bored. "Defend our colony? Enforce our laws?" The emissary's orbs pulsed. "You were given relocation terms. This world was deemed unsuitable for funny." Blake tapped a key. The Retribution's railguns whined as they charged. "We found it plenty suitable." Below them, New Dakota's surface burned with the wreckage of Vorak terraformers. The Zephyrian harvesters had been reduced to scrap, their crews swallowed by the dust. "Admiral," the emissary pleaded, "stand down. This is not how civilized species. Civilized." Blake's smile was a knife. "You declared us invasive fauna. You sent harvesters to chew our homes into slurry." He leaned closer. "You don't get to call us uncivilized." A new voice crackled over the comms, Sheriff Eli Vance, his transmission laced with static. "Admiral, they're scrambling the last of their shuttles." Blake didn't hesitate. "Lock on." The Retribution's targeting systems chimed. Across the fleeing Zephyrian ships, alarms screamed as railgun trajectories painted their hulls. The emissary's voice turned shrill. "You'll start a war." Blake's finger hovered over the firing command. "No." He tapped the screen. "We're ending one." The railguns fired in the silence of space. There was no sound, only light. The Zephyrian shuttles erupted into fireballs, their debris scattering like embers. The harvest of plenty shuddered as secondary explosions tore through its gutted halls. Drotlix stumbled back from the holoscreen, his chitinous limbs trembling. The last thing he saw was the Retribution's prow turning toward him, its guns glowing red. Hot on the surface, Eli Vance watched the sky burn. His radio crackled. Mayor Lisa Hayes, her voice raw but steady. "They running?" Eli spat into the dust. Not anymore. Above them, the Retribution moved like a predator, her shadow swallowing the wreckage. Admiral Blake's voice echoed across every surviving Zephyrian channel, crisp and final. "Frontier law says finders keepers." The railguns cycled again. "We found you." The last Zephyrian ship tried to jump. The Retribution's guns tore it apart before it could vanish. Silence settled over New Dakota. The twin suns rose, painting the bones of the invaders in bloody light. In orbit, the Retribution held position, her guns cold but ready, waiting, watching the galaxy would learn. Humans didn't abandon their frontiers. They buried trespassers in them. The twin suns of New Dakota burned low in the sky, casting long shadows across the repurposed wreckage of the harvest of plenty. What had once been a pulsing, organic monstrosity now formed the skeletal framework of a new power grid. Its rib-like supports strung with cables humming clean energy. Governor Lisa Hayes stood at the edge of the colony square, her scarred knuckles resting on the hilt of the old mining plasma cutter she still carried. The wind carried the scent of turned earth and something else, something like victory. A child's laughter cut through the quiet. Lisa turned to see a small figure dart between the legs of a half-buried Voric terraformer, its metallic limbs now serving as a climbing frame. The child, part human, part Vorak, with chitinous patches along their arms and a shock of dark hair, scrambled up the wreckage with ease. Their mother, a former scout named Jenna Wu, leaned against a support beam, her night vision goggles pushed up onto her forehead. "Careful, Mika," she called, but the child just grinned, mandibles clicking in delight. Eli Vance limped into the square, his cybernetic arm gleaming in the fading light. He carried a crate under his other arm, the weight making his bad knee protest. "Got the last of the plaques," he grunted, setting it down with a thud inside. Polished metal plates gleamed, each one etched with names, the settlers who hadn't lived to see this day. Lisa crouched beside him, running a finger over the engraving. "They'd have loved this," she murmured, "turning their graves into a foundation." Eli snorted. "They'd have loved the look on Druk's face when the Retribution decloaked more." The memory of that moment still sent a thrill through the colony. The Zephyrian overseer had begged over the comms, his voice glitching through the static of the human-made jammers. The Galactic Council's emissary had promised sanctions, reparations, right up until Admiral Blake's voice cut through the channel like a knife. "Frontier law says finders keepers, we found you." Now the only remnants of that panic were the scorch marks on the landing pads and the occasional piece of alien tech being dragged out of the mines. Raj Patel, his missing fingers replaced with crude prosthetics, was overseeing a team of settlers as they hauled a salvaged Zephyrian energy core toward the new fusion plant. "Careful with that," he barked. "It's still hot." One of the younger settlers, a kid who'd been hiding in the mines during the attack, grinned. "Hotter than the look on Catsket's face when the charges blew," Raj smirked. "Nothing's that hot." As dusk settled, the colony gathered around the newly erected memorial, a slab of black stone, its surface etched with the names of the dead and a single line. "They came for our land, we gave them 6 feet." Lisa stepped forward, her voice carrying over the crowd. "We didn't just survive," she said. "We built, and we're not done." A cheer went up, mingling with the hum of the turbines overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a comms tower crackled to life, relaying a message from the USN Retribution, still lurking at the edge of the system. Admiral Blake's voice was calm, satisfied. "Galactic records just updated. New Dakota's hazard classification now reads human." Eli chuckled, tipping his hat back. "Damn right it does." The child, Mika, scrambled down from the wreckage and darted over to Lisa, their small hand tugging at her sleeve. Governor Hayes, they asked, their voice a curious blend of human cadence and Vorak clicks. What happens next? Lisa looked down at them, then out at the colony. The domes repaired with alien alloy, the fields tilled with repurposed terraformers, the sky streaked with the light of human-made stars. She smiled. Next, she said, we keep thriving. And as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, New Dakota burned brighter than ever.